You're listening to Power Talk, Berkeley Electric Cooperative's official broadcast about the cooperative, our communities, and ways to use energy wisely. And now, let's join our hosts for today's episode. Good morning and welcome to Power Talk. I'm Micah Ponce, the Communications and Media Specialist here at Berkeley Electric Cooperative, joined as always by Miss Libby Roig, the Director of Marketing and Communication.
Good morning, Micah. We have our resident smart guy guest.
Tim?
Joining us
Tim,
today.
right?
No,
Yeah.
it's Eddie.
Tim.
No, plural. Yeah.
Got a full house today.
Yes.
Well, we got smart guys in the house.
So we learned something.
One of them smart guys is Mr. Eddie Plowden, the Director of Energy Services, and the other smart guy is Mr. Tim Swicord, the Manager of Energy Services.
Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Lots of energy services stuff going on here
Yeah.
today. So I'm just going to sit back and let them talk because
Nothing you can add.
Nothing I can add. They got it covered.
First off, let's start with introductions. Why should we believe you? Why are you guys smart and experts?
Well,
Eddie?
I wouldn't say smart. We're well versed in helping members with their high bills, and we're very
Experience.
knowledgeable and experienced in helping members. So
Seasoned
that's where you
professionals.
say smart.
Yeah.
So,
It's just
Eddie, you've been
been
with
there.
the co-op 39 years?
Well, if we're talking about history, we're 85 years old co-op, and I'm close to half that. So, not quite.
Well, welcome to the show. Hailing from Manning, South Carolina,
Manning, yep.
originally.
Yep.
And how about the other guy sitting in here?
And so I would agree with Eddie. I have an engineering background, so I understand data, which is, where we're headed, using data to analyze and figure out what's going on. Been here about 7.5 years, so about a quarter of the time Eddie's been here.
But yeah, also a Berkeley County guy.
Yeah,
too, so.
originally from Berkeley
Berkeley
County,
County,
born
right
right here, grew
Monk's
up in
Corner.
Somerville, and I live over in King Street.
Ah,
So.
yeah. Both of our guests
Cool.
are Clemson grads, which goes to show you nobody's perfect.
All right, show's over.
I do have an MBA from Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, it was easy.
No, it was not.
Had to
It
work
was
hard. for
not
that.
easy.
Since we've already gotten off the rails, let's get back on track.
History, yes.
So today, we're gonna just do some time traveling. So get you a cup of coffee and listen up. In case you're not familiar with the co-op business model, co-ops were born as what we would see today as an economic development driver in our rural areas. The investor-owned utilities in the cities didn't want to spend money in the country because those areas aren't as densely populated, and the investor-owned utilities couldn't recoup their investment. So, in other words, they couldn't make money off of the sparsely populated rural areas. So, enter the patron saint of co-ops, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and the New Deal, and the federal government created some low-interest loans for farmers and communities to come together and create electric co-ops. So we're proud of that heritage and govern ourselves the exact same way today as we did 85 years ago. Even the cost of membership is the same, $5.
the same.
$5.
Yeah.
That's right. It was expensive back in 1940, though.
Yeah.
But
over $100.
our first meeting was January 5, 1940 here in Moncks Corner. So I got everything started then.
Yeah.
So.
But, when electric co-ops first started, a lot of them sold appliances in their offices because co-ops had to teach people how to use this newfangled technology called electricity. So, Eddie, in a related topic, what was the first electric meter like?
Well, I mean, it's similar
and
to
how?
the meter we have on display,
Oh, okay.
here today.
This
And
prop.
a lot of them are, are prop, and then they would also have a little hand dial, like a clock, that you would read the meter. And this is for really a very small use, as it only handle about 2,000 watts of power. So it's not like our homes now will use way more power than that. So
Yeah. So Eddie brought a GE mechanical meter, and it even has REA on the meter itself. So, but how did we track our members' usage back in the olden days?
Well, this meter, all the meters up until we were reading it through Powerline Carrier or that method was walk up to the meter and read it.
Write down the numbers.
Write down the number, and it would be written down on a pad. You would write down the number, bring it into the office, and it would be entered, and you would bill members through that. And of course, they would get a paper bill from us. Back in the early 1940s, your power bill would be, really like $2.20, back then.
Which was a lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was very low power use compared to what we do now, because we're 1,250 kilowatt hours average per month kilowatt hour use for a typical residential member now. So big increase from where we were.
So the members would write down their usage, track their usage, and turn it into the office?
Yep, early on they would. And then if you, we've seen some letters sent in the early 40s that their power was out, and they mailed it in and said their power was out. So
yeah, I mean, because like you said, back in the early days, most folks really didn't use power for a whole lot except maybe lights. They were used to doing without, and so when the power went out, it wasn't necessarily such a big deal. And like Libby mentioned, we had the electric appliances, and we had to show the folks how to do it. But one of the talking about the early days in the REA, they came up with a little mascot which we call Willie Wired Hand these days, but his original name was Willie the Wired Hand, because it was a playoff on him being the hired hand that helped out the farmers. It was like another person able to help them with all the conveniences of electricity and the things that they could get done. So that's where our little mascot, the little plug walking around guy, looked like, Willie the Wired Hand. So we don't see him as much anymore. We trot him out for events and whatnot, but he's no longer in our logo. But that was the origin story of our mascot.
Yep, and I brought in a little survey from Statewide does surveys. We do survey our members about appliance saturation and what they're using. And this is 20 years into the co-op, right? 1959.
Okay.
And at that time we had just over 7,000 member accounts, and now we're almost adding that per year. And this is 20 years.
Wow.
From 1940 to 1959, we added a total of 7,500 member meters.
Yeah.
And what are the top two appliances in members' homes in 1959? What would you say the top two electric items in the home would be in 1959 for our members?
Refrigerator and a fan.
That's close. A refrigerator and a radio, because that was how you got your media and heard about what's going on. No, I mean, people would have lights. He would start out with a light bulb or, yeah, this is appliances.
It's an ice box.
But, getting back
to
reading your meter, in the early 90s, I was straight out of college. We were living in Kingstree, and we were reading our meter. And we would mail our bill back in with the new meter reading every month in the early 90s. So that's just an idea of how fast things have developed.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So how did we? How were our rates structured back then? How did we recoup our expenses?
I mean, and the rates, were similar as far as structural cost per kilowatt hour, but they were a lot lower. So, like the high end would be like 4.5 cents a kilowatt hour, in that range. It would break down like at 20 kilowatt hours. That start out in 1940, it'd be like what you used at 20 kilowatt hours per month, and then at 50, and then at 100. And if you used over 200, so that was, but it was really low. It's only like 2.5 cents to 4.5 cents.
So it got less expensive the more power you used.
Yes.
So that was probably to help recoup some of the fixed costs.
Yeah, the low use would be fixed costs.
Yeah.
Collecting, which is similar to what we used to do.
Yeah.
So.
And today, what's our rate today though in comparison?
I mean, it's 12.62 cents a kilowatt hour, but we charge more for the monthly charge because we're collecting that. Otherwise, our power cost would be higher, and you got to balance that out. We know what our cost to deliver power for every member is. We're trying to charge that, and then we're charging for the energy. So it's a very awesome way of dividing out the cost.
Yeah, but if we're just looking at rates, I mean, we're looking at 4 cents.
Triple.
Yeah, 4 cents to 12 cents in 85 years. I mean, yes, when we get our power bills each month, we definitely notice that increase. But I mean, you think about that's not that much of an increase when you look over the course of almost 100 years.
Yeah.
How much is a car going up, from 1940 to now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh,
a couple
a lot.
$100 to a house payment,
Yeah.
basically now
Yeah,
these days.
yeah.
10 times,
Yeah.
10x. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I was buying my latest truck, I told my wife I will not have a car payment that is more than my house payment, which is very possible to do.
It is. Yeah, especially if you keep the 60-month financing.
Yeah.
For some of these. Oh.
Well, we're saying as time passed and co-ops and other utilities, everybody has to evolve. Everything evolves over time, and we invested in new technology. And so, I mean, when you gentlemen first started the co-op, Eddie, like for instance, when you started working at the co-op back in the 80s, what did our co-op look like in terms of technology? What did we have, and how did we respond to high usage concerns back then?
Well, as mentioned, we would read the meter, once per month. And so we would estimate or project, what appliance was causing the problem. We do have some of the abilities we do now to go out and do an amp probe and use the meter to tell us, what's going on as far as the use, right now, like a meter spin test. But we didn't know what was going on. We couldn't tell what the problem may be or anything of that nature. So it's a mystery once you get to the house.
Yeah.
Now we totally different.
So you had some tools to try to assess what might be going wrong. So you could make an adjustment after your educated guess, but then you had to wait till the next month to see if it made a difference. Right?
Yes, and the member can actually read their use, off the meter and can communicate with us.
Okay.
But that's all. We didn't have any we couldn't see it, from the office at all. We just have to talk to the member and say, hey, how much you use a day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like you're talking about evolving and everything. Go back, member-wise, we were talking about we've got close to 140,000 meters now, and somewhere around 110,000 members, somewhere in that. So back in the 80s, what were we looking like in terms of our membership? Do you remember?
I mean, back when I started, it was just below 50,000.
Okay.
So it was like in the 40s, like around Hugo, it was just below 50,000. So
Yeah, and I think when I joined in
29.
2000, we were somewhere in the high 70s to maybe low 80s, somewhere in that neighborhood. So yeah, for a long time, it grew steadily, but not necessarily at a blinding pace.
yeah, like 2,000 member meters per year was a pretty good pace.
Yeah.
So,
And so now, where you said we're up to around 5,000 to 7,000 per year.
per year.
So yeah, as things change, I mean, we definitely are seeing things change more quickly.
Yeah. So rate-wise, we had similar mechanical meters. Did we have similar rate structure in the 80s when you started?
We had declining block rate, which means that you buy first 1,000 kilowatt hours, and then 1,500, it would drop down. So as you bought more kilowatt hours, it would drop down, and i.e. we were trying to collect our fixed cost to serve, the first kilowatt hour sold, and then it would drop down to be cheaper, after that.
But people were using a lot more power in the 80s because we had lots more things to power.
Yep, and then a lot of technology changed even from members' homes from the 70s and 80s on electric furnace and going to a heat pump. That dramatically dropped their energy use in the members' homes and efficiency.
Yeah,
It's starting to come into play.
nice.
Well, for those of you who are just now tuning in, we are sort of taking a look through the Wayback Machine as to when the co-op first started and how we've changed a little bit over the years. We've talked, about our membership is changed. We've definitely gone up on the membership. We've, grown in terms of technology. But I mean, I guess one of the good things about an electric cooperative is, they may change in terms of technology and growth, but the underlying principles are still the same. We were founded as a not-for-profit electric cooperative. We are still a not-for-profit electric cooperative. Our members are owners. That's still true today. That $5 membership that we mentioned gives you the same opportunity to vote for your board members and to vote on bylaw changes and the way that your cooperative is run. That's still true today as it was when we were founded back in 1940. So there's a lot of things that change, but the underlying principles of what makes us an electric cooperative are still the same today as they were back in yesteryear.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
then, strength working together with 19, co-ops in South Carolina. Some of the co-ops are still very small, under 20,000 member meters, even though they've been around for 80 years like us.
Yeah.
So working together makes us stronger as a co-op group.
Definitely, and we share our expertise. And another thing that hasn't changed is the co-op is run by people who live in the community. So we live alongside the people that we serve, and many employees are members.
And all of our board trustees are elected from the membership each year at the annual meeting. So it's a homegrown, home-run co-op.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, as much as things stay the same, they also change. So, let's jump in our DeLorean and fast forward to the 2000s. Berkeley Electric replaced our old mechanical meters by rolling out digital automated meters that communicate with the cooperative by sending signals along the power lines. So, Tim, let's get you to jump in here. How did that technology improvement help the co-op serve its members?
So the first thing is the meters are more accurate. A mechanical meter has mechanical parts, and mechanical parts wear, and over time they, slow down, and they become less accurate, which means typically the bill would be lower.
Which is great.
It's great if you're the homeowner.
For the user, yeah.
But also it allowed us to do a lot of other things, just aside from just the accuracy from it. We were able to do prepaid bills because now we're communicating directly with the meter. Folks can know how much energy they're using every day.
Yeah.
They can sign up for prepaid if they can't afford the deposit. Maybe they have bad credit or just don't have the $400 for the deposit. They can sign up without a deposit and go on prepaid and pay by use. So we have the data to be able to do that. The hourly data allows us to do a better job of what Eddie was trying to do back in the beginning, because now we can pull the data up on the computer, and the first digital meters we installed, we pulled back hourly data, and so we could see hour by hour what they were using. Was made it very easy to troubleshoot. Say they had heat strips running when the air conditioner was running, or water heater. You could actually see the trend in use with the water heater leaking, that kind of thing. But now the new meters that we have now actually allow us to pull back 15-minute data. So we can even get into the weeds of finding something that's turning on and turning off a lot.
Yeah.
So it allows us to get even deeper into the members' use history to help them figure out what might be causing the problems. It also allows us to do load control, because now we can communicate with other devices through the same communication path that we're communicating with our meters. We have a load management program with our water heaters where we communicate with the load management switch. That is our RF style switch, which is radio frequency. And the old style ones, operated off of a tower. The new ones are actually communicating through the meter structure itself. We also have a load management program with our thermostats, but that is a Wi-Fi enabled type communication, so it's not associated with the meters. We also are able to do different rate structures. In the past where we had solar, we could do solar, but we couldn't do time of day with solar. Now we can do time of day with solar. So if you have solar and you have batteries and you want to program your batteries to absorb your excess solar production in the daytime and discharge it through the peak, then you can essentially get your energy for 5 cents cheaper by doing that.
Cool.
That kind of thing. So, it's really helped us from a troubleshooting perspective. It's helped us serve the member better. One thing that's interesting is our department has not grown in a very long time.
It's shrunk, actually.
It's actually shrunk, but we're able to serve more members and be more effective because the technology has allowed us to do that.
Yeah.
The last thing that we've been able to implement here recently is our AI tool called Vigily. And so Vigily takes a look at, it uses AI, which is artificial intelligence, and it looks at the data and it can aggregate the members' use by appliance. So now you can see which appliance in your house is using the most energy just based on the patterns that AI is picking up out of it. And it produces a nice chart and a nice one-page report for the member to look at. And it's also a tool we use to talk with them and go over what they're doing.
So how does AI know what appliance is doing?
Well, it's essentially trained by the software company. The software company trains it to look for certain patterns. It knows when it gets hot outside and it sees a spike, and the spike has a duration of a certain amount of time. It knows it's a heat pump. If it comes on and goes off and it's a 4.5 kW increase, that knows it's a water heater.
Yeah.
So it kind of knows the signature of the different types of appliances, and it can break it out for you and let you know exactly how it's working. It's pretty accurate.
Yeah. So in other words, all the appliances in our home have a certain fingerprint of the amount of energy they're drawing and the cycles that they're running in. You know, the refrigerator versus the water heater versus the HVAC versus a power strip running the TV.
Then it also breaks it out what's always on. There's some things that are always on, and it's a steady load.
Yeah.
And it will tell you how many kilowatt hours is always on in your house.
Yeah.
Which is kind of useful.
Yeah.
To think about it. Especially if it gets real high, you start scratching your head and walking around trying to figure out what it is.
It's running on all the time.
Well, I will say that we did forget to mention one of the most important things that happened in 2000, and that's when I was hired at Berkeley Electric Cooperative.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's when it all
that's
changed for the better.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. March of 2000. So yeah, been here 25 years. Not quite as long as Eddie.
Yeah, July 86.
Yeah.
I've been here 7.5, so I'm the junior guy in the room.
Oh, no, I've been here going on 6. So
Eddie,
Junior gal.
just to share, 86 is when I started high school.
Okay. All right, well, good. You've done well.
I was in the first grade.
85 is when I graduated from high school.
Just wanted to throw back, since we're talking about history, throw a little bit of history out there.
Embracing technology, whether you're young or old, this has been tremendous, for helping our members and, right at your fingertips, like Tim was mentioning, individually is right there in your smart hub. You can see it in your phone or in your app, so it's fantastic information for our members.
And just to take a quick detour here and embarrass Eddie. Sorry, Eddie.
Oops.
Eddie is our most veteran employee in this room, but, a lot of folks with your level of experience would rest on that experience and just not embrace new technology or new ways of doing things. And Eddie, I would say you're probably the most innovative person in our department.
Oh, that was a huge compliment.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very much, because that, I can't keep up, nothing compared to Micah and his technology and using,
And Eddie Plowden has more energy than my 10-year-old.
Thank you.
So, sorry to embarrass you, but anyway.
Well, we're talking about technology, and one of the things that we've been talking about is meters and how we're able to get a lot of good data from that. I mean, and that's a lot of it is because our meters continually evolve, and we've deployed new versions of meters many times, even since I've been here in the last 25 years. So every time as the new technology comes around, we're evaluating it and doing that cost benefit analysis and seeing, should we make the jump to the next meter? And I think, didn't we just recently upgrade to, I guess, the newest generation of automated meter technology? And we've talked about, radio communication over the wire. But now we're back to radio frequency again. But I mean, give us a little bit of a rundown, I guess, either one of y'all, about what are some of the advantages that these new meters talked. I know Tim talked on it a little bit.
Yeah, Tim talked about it, and the meters kind of like communicate with each other, and it brings the signal all the way back to the co-op. And but having the 15-minute data and to be able to, obviously, we talk about prepay. We also on meters have disconnect underneath the glass. So if somebody's leaving the moving in and moving out, we can read it remotely, which is really nice. Don't have to send somebody out there. We can definitely disconnect. If somebody doesn't pay a prepay, it does disconnect, but you can call back in and pay your bill, or go online and pay it, and it reconnects. For the member. And then Tim mentioned about solar PV and how we can look at their hourly use and help them with that, even evaluations whether it's working or not working as far as solar systems. So
Right.
And to add on that, the first meters were TWAX type meters, which were the power line carrier meters, and they were wonderful, new technology. They worked well for us, but as we started to grow, we had some difficulty getting the 3 reads a day. They couldn't do all the all the checks and balances and read the meters 3 times a day and still have time to do other things. So, we kind of push the limit of what they were capable of doing. With the new meters, every meter talks to another meter and they kind of aggregate. So it's kind of what they call a self-healing mesh network. So if a meter goes down, the other meters can still communicate in another path. So they're always trying to find a way back. They go to central hubs that come back with fiber instead of power line carrier. So it's more robust. It's faster. We can do the 3 reads every day and still have time to do other things, and it will allow us to continue to grow without hampering our operation.
Also, like voltage reads, you can read the meter, way down the line and make sure the voltage is correct. It would deliver in exactly where we want to read. So it helps us on a lot of engineering side also.
Yeah, in terms of outages as well, because
yeah,
now we can send out a ping down the line, and we can figure out where the last meter got the signal. And then, because in the old days, you'd have to get in a truck and ride down the line and just go test all the meters and see where we had the issue, or ride the lines to see where the break was. And now all we can do is just send out a little ping, a little signal, and it talks right back to us. And so it's a lot quicker for us to determine where the outage might be occurring.
Yeah.
And our meters have a battery inside of them. It's really a capacitor, but whenever they get a failure, they get this, what they call the last gasp communication, and it will shoot out a communication saying I've failed, or I've lost one of my readings. And so it is a way for us to find out exactly which meter goes out. And typically, the technology will allow you now that if a meter goes out, we already know the meter's out before the member calls.
Yeah.
We already get a notification that we have an outage. So it's another way for us to serve the members and get folks on the road quicker to assess what's going on and repair it.
Yeah, but we
it's not metering, but outage restoration also is better now, because we're basically able to isolate, like say if a utility pole gets taken out, and we can backfeed behind that, and then do the repair. So our technology has improved on that side also, to be able to isolate a problem, get it fixed, instead of everybody being out down the line.
Yeah, reroute power to a different way to where we're minimizing the number of people who are affected. So we've gone from meters when we first started that we only got a reading when we manually took it, either the homeowner or us going out there, to now we get data every 15 minutes from our meters, and they can communicate with us if there's a problem. But, as we continue to invest in this new technology, and it allows us different ways to serve the members, it also affects our rate options. You mentioned the time of day rate, but with these new digital meters, what are some other things that we can do rate wise that we weren't able to do with mechanical meters?
So obviously the time of day is the big one. We also can offer a demand-based rate. We were already offering demand-based rates for our larger members, our industrial members, but the meter would have like a flag that would flag the highest rating. So we didn't get all of the readings. We just got the highest one for the month or for the billing period. But now, we can get all the data and know when that demand, actually the high demand, actually occurred. And so down the road, a lot of co-ops and a lot of utilities are already doing what we call a 3-part rate, where there's an energy charge, a facility charge, and a demand charge. And in that scenario, typically the demand is, a significant part of the bill, but the energy portion is less. So it kind of equals out if you are what you would call an average member. But it does send a price signal to the member to say, hey, during this time, if you use your dryer and you use your air conditioner or your heater, you're going to have a really high demand charge. And that kind of will help curtail usage during that time naturally, because it's a price signal to the member, because they know it's going to cost. And what does that do for the co-op? Well, it lowers our system peak, which lowers our cost. And it keeps it helps us keep our rates lower. And so that's the goal as a member-owned nonprofit utility, is to, do
keep
what we can with
down.
the rates we have and keep the cost down for the members.
So what is demand? We don't offer it currently for residential members, but for a business, what is that demand component of their bill?
So the definition of demand is the highest energy consumption in a single hour during the peak time. And so let's say nothing's on in your house and you turn on your dryer, or let's say your water heater comes on. That's an easy one. A water heater typically is 4.5 kW or 4,500 watts. If that water heater runs for a full hour, then your demand is 4.5 kW. But it only has to run for 15 minutes for you to get that demand.
Okay.
So if we do in a full hour demand, it would need to run for the full hour to get the demand, but because it's a time-based demand.
Gotcha.
So it's whatever's on for that 1 hour period. How many ever kilowatt hours pass through that meter in that 1 hour is the demand value.
Okay.
And we could probably have an entire show on just talking about demand and demand rates and all that other kind of stuff.
Because it's a hard concept.
Right.
It gets down in the weeds, but we'll save that for another show because, folks, we're out of time on this one. Hope you had fun going down memory lane and learning a little about the ways that we're using technology today. This is the official broadcast of your electric cooperative called Power Talk, and you can catch up on past episodes on streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio, and get a behind-the-scenes look on Berkeley Electric's YouTube channel. So until next time, this is Power Talk, signing off.